You're still watching TVC Breakfast. We'll now link up with Eshomomo Imodu and Tijesu Adoye in our Abuja studio for the FCT Brief. In Akwana Abuja, Inaini, over to you.
Good morning, Ria, and good morning, Lagos. Is another beautiful day and Eshomomo's favorite day of the week. It's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday.
Well, we are here again, and we're here to unpack all that we have for you today. We have a lot on the table this morning, and we hope that you stick with us, throughout our conversation this morning. Well, let's jump straight into what we have for you today. Good morning and welcome to FCT Brief. Now, across Nigeria, the twin reality of flooding and declining agriculture productivity have become intertwined challenges. Seasonal floods, often worsened by poor drainage systems, deforestation, and climate change, continue to displace communities, destroy farmlands, and threaten food security. But observers believe that these challenges can be mitigated, from investment in modern irrigation systems to early warning mechanisms and sustainable land management practices. Stakeholders are exploring strategies to reduce the risk.
The federal and state governments, alongside international partners, have also been called upon to improve ecological funding, strengthen policies, and empower local farmers with resilience tools. Beyond preventing recovery measures such as replanting programs, provision of drought and flood-resistant seeds, and also rural infrastructure upgrades remain critical. As Nigeria pushes to achieve food security and reduce disaster risk, addressing the ecological challenge of flooding will not only protect farmlands, but also safeguard livelihoods. The call remains clear. Proactive planning and sustainable practices are key to turning the tide. Honorable Solomon Maren is a former member of the House of Representatives and coordinator, African Parliamentary Network on Climate Action, Nigeria, and he's live here with us in the studio. Nice to have you join us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Welcome.
Yeah, from description of your person, you've been conversant with climate and ecology. And also, what would you say is the most pressing challenge facing Nigeria in terms of ecology, and when we're talking about flooding and agricultural sustainability?
Well, thank you very much for having me this morning. I think one of our major problems as a country is that most of our policies are reactive rather than being proactive. We are trying to curb the menace that is already produced by erosion, by flooding, and by other disasters that comes our way. But we have failed to address the root cause of some of these disasters. And because that is happening, we'll continue to have so many disasters, even of higher magnitude than the ones we've had, and then so much agricultural losses to the farmers down in the rural areas. And I think this is the very major challenge that we need to all address as a people. If you look at the River Benue, for example, that flood is prominent every year, year in, year out, as a result of the release of water from the Lakdo Dam in Cameroon. What are the issues there? Before now, ships used to go as far as Yola. The River Benue was open, and so it can contain more water. Today it has been silted up. Any water release, it has no channel to flow. It flows into the farmlands of our people, and thereby displacing communities, taking away villages, killing people. So much disaster happens. And these are responsibilities by not only the federal government. The pressure on the federal government is too much. It's too much. Nigerians must try to find a way of blaming their states and their local governments for protecting their own people at a particular level. Because communities along these river banks, it is not the federal government that gives either CFO or it gives building permits for communities to build along these river banks. What are the states and local governments doing? These are their responsibilities. First, you must ensure that people don't build along these river banks so that they will be safe. Even farming along these river banks, there should be some early warnings that will make farmers not to cultivate along those very critical areas. And the local government and the state government must make provisions for these people to have, alternative areas for cultivation. And once that is not done, then it's a very serious matter. But the federal government must also be involved in the dredging of the River Benue and the River Niger.
Now, among these challenges you've mentioned, you highlighted early warnings. And we've seen some early warnings go out before, we see these floods. But, we still see farmlands affected, farmers losing their crops and all of that. Now, would you say that the gap is in technology or is funding? Or would you say it's a lack of information, proper information to the farmers? And who should be held accountable for making these alerts actionable?
Well, the issue is, if you give an alert, we're in this room now, we're walking, and you say that these rays of light have some, some impacts on our bodies, are we going to stop walking? We will have to work and see what technology can we do so that we can stop these rays from having effect on our bodies. These farmers, even if you go and tell them that we have realized that there is going to be flooding in the next 1 week or in 2 weeks' time, are they going to carry the farm to another location? No.
So basically it's a technology gap.
So the technology gap is there. Secondly, the state governments must take responsibility. And some of the things we do, actually, the federal government is only trying to intervene. Even when you look at constitutionally, some of those things are the constitutional views of the states. Like I mentioned, the issue of the building plans, approvals, and the rest of them. So these are things that the state government, the synergy must increase. The synergy between technology, innovators, and the government, and of course, the farmers. And it is the state government that have responsibility to educate these farmers. The federal government can give a warning. They don't know who these farmers are. But the state governments know them. They are their people. They are their friends, they are their cousins, they are their relations. So it is their responsibility to find a way of educating these communities to see to the reason why they shouldn't even farm in some of those prone areas in the first place.
Okay, now at the moment we have the NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency, we have the SEMA in the various states. Yet when we have such disaster, there are certain bureaucracies that don't allow these bodies to deploy fast enough. And you're talking about we are reactive, we are not proactive. Now, I recall that the present national chairman of the APC, when he was the Minister of Humanitarian, he made a statement that there should be something like a disaster management fund. Is it not time for us to begin to think about having a fund that is not under the bureaucracy of government, where the private sector, the government, can contribute funds to or resource, and can manage without with a reduced bureaucracy?
Well, you see, the federal government is also looking at having what they refer to as flood insurance. There's this flood insurance policy that the federal government is trying to put in place, and what the minister said is the basic truth, that a country cannot exist to know that there are disasters that are surely going to come, and is dependent on releases of money from agencies of government. It will not work, because those disasters will not wait for you whether you have money today or you don't have money tomorrow. They will come when it's time for them to come. Yeah. So the safest thing to do is to have a fund that is there permanently, waiting for any emergency. If there is no emergency, these funds can be invested, and they are there under call, and they can be getting under 24 hours. You can get them out. So this is the way to go, and this is the way to create assurance for the people that if there is a disaster, they can be assisted, they can be protected, there can be some of intervention that is coming to them. And I think this idea of the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs is what the government should be planning and putting on at the moment, to make sure that the private sector contributes into this fund and everybody contributes into this fund, whether in the times of revenues, or in terms of from the revenue we collect from either oil or from anywhere, even the personal income, like the new tax law is there. And the president told us that what they needed, they had not gotten in the last 9 months. It means that there's enough money now. So a percentage of this money, like we were doing in the trying to make some savings in the sovereign wealth fund. Yeah. So this is the way to go. You have to create a percentage out of this excess of revenue that you have and push it into the emergency disaster fund. This fund will be there waiting for any disaster that arises. We are lucky that in this country, on this part of the world where we are, the disasters are even not major disasters. What if we are suffering from things like earthquakes? We are suffering from things like hurricanes. Do you know the kind of disaster that can bring upon a community? Many cities have been wiped out completely in 1 minute by hurricanes. So this is time to go. You know, to be forewarned is to know what to do. So I think it is the right time for us as a people, as a country, to start putting some things in order so that future generations can also leverage on in order to protect and secure themselves.
All right, Honorable Marian. You spoke about dredging as one approach to, solving this challenge and, the need for states to adopt this. Now, do you think Nigeria should focus mainly on dredging the rivers regularly, or we should also consider building permanent embankments to keep the farmlands safe? Because, aside considering cost and, also climate shift, is one approach, a sustainable mitigation approach to tackling this challenge that we have at the moment?
You are very correct. You see, like I said earlier, most of the policies we are trying to develop are reactive. If you look at erosion in the southeast, for example, it started by just forming small gullies that people were even, farming, living around there. They were even farming in some of these gullies. But as time went on, it was going down. It was getting deeper and deeper. What would have happened in that situation is to build embankments and river lining. Once you do that, you have protected it. So whatever water comes, it flows into it. It's not eroding any part. So it will go naturally on its way. So we must be able to know that the smaller gullies that are coming up today, we must be able to protect them, either in the form of drainages, embankments, or whatever, at least to protect the banks from extending further to what they are now. And we must also dredge some of these big rivers so that they can contain more water. Today, they are blocked. They are sand-filled. So any release of water on them, the water flows into the communities, flows into the farmlands, because there is no channel to carry it anymore. And so we must deliberately dredge these rivers to make sure that it takes more water. And secondly, we must also engage ourselves in some rainwater collection systems. This will also help if you look at borehole drilling in Nigeria now, it's becoming terrible. Where you used to drill borehole 30 meters and get water, today you go 100 and something meters to get water. Why? Because the groundwater recharge is gone. There is no water, no surface body water anywhere to recharge the groundwater. And so we are losing the groundwater every day. And now boreholes in places, in basement formations that used to be 30, 25 meters now, they are going up to 250 meters to get water. So what do you think will happen if this situation continues in another 50 years? So we must do things that will promote, to conserve the environment. The environment is in diverse forms. Groundwater, we must conserve our groundwater. We must also make channels for our runoff waters to be taken out, of our communities and our farmlands. We must as well build river banks and embankments to protect our rivers, to protect our streams, to make sure that they are guided, and to also stop erosion from further, deepening some of these gullies.
Okay, let's take a look at our policies. When flood happens, apart from devastating communities, it leads to huge loss in agriculture. Now, how can we escalate climate-smart agriculture into our policy formulations? So that, yeah, annually we face flooding and we lose so much, but we need to have an agricultural system where, when if it comes, because of the kind of technology, we will still be good. It won't be threatened as a nation.
You know, Nigeria is a signatory to the Paris Agreement, and the adaptation and mitigation channels that have been opened by the United Nations, you know, in order to mitigate some of the climate change challenges and also adapt some of the solutions that are necessary to bring people out of the menace of climate change. All those things are there. And that is why Nigeria is also getting some green funds that are used in funding some of the projects that we are doing today. If you look at New Map, for example, they are part of the green funds by the World Bank. You look at AgriSouth, they are all green funds by the World Bank, and they are in billions of naira. And that's what is being used today, you know, to restore land in many communities and try to build some of these river banks, embankments, to protect some of these smaller streams from degenerating into bigger rivers through erosion and the rest of them. So I think Nigeria is already deep into the climate change things, and some of the benefits thereof, Nigeria is already benefiting from them. And I think all we need to do is that we must put private sector, bring in the private sector also into it, so that, you know, the only way it can sustain a thing is when it is in the hands of the private sector. Government can only promote it to an extent. But when you have a private sector that is engaged in it, they are making some things out of it, and the people who are enjoying some of these technologies are also benefiting from these technologies. You know, this is the way to go. As today now, if you are a farmer, some of us are, I'm a farmer, I farm. So you have some new varieties of seedlings out there that when you farm before, you have 1 hectare of land, maybe you get like 20 bucks. Today, with the new variety of seedlings, 1 hectare of maize farm can give you up to 50 to 60 bags of maize. So this is some of those technologies that we need to adapt, so that even if we are farming 50 hectares of land and we are getting 25 bags, now we just need 10 hectares of land to get over 600 bags, which means we are better off economically than we were when we were taking so much huge areas of land. So these are some of the things that technology is very important, and of course the private sector must be involved. Government must find a way of integrating the private sector into some of these technology, both incubation and dissemination to the people, so that they can as well leverage on technology rather than continuously living on this manual form of agriculture, and it's not benefiting the communities.
Indeed. You just mentioned, integrating technology, and post-harvest protection is also an issue, because when these floods happen, it also affects the storage of these farmers. How would you say, aside the technology, which we know that it's going to be capital intensive, how would government also protect these farmers from losing their harvest during this flood?
To an extent, I would say government has made deliberate effort to protect these farmers by establishing many agricultural research institutions across the country. Unfortunately, many of them are not living up to expectation. And that is why if you look at the Orosanye report, the Orosanye report was to match many of them, because if you look at, for example, you have crop stores, whatever, national stores, whatever, research institute, and they are supposed to be producing storage facilities for our grains. If you look around the country, over 40 to 50 years after establishment, what can you say they have achieved? You have research in horticulture and other, things like fruits like tomato, pepper, and the rest of them. Till today, we import canned tomato into the country. And the tomato that is being thrown away as waste, post-harvest losses, is more than what we are bringing into the country. And yet government has set up an agency of government to be able to profile solutions to this. Even if it means them profiling solution, a small-scale solution that smaller farmers or smaller investors can utilize. If it's just they are able to do 2 tons of tomato per day, if we have many of them like that, you will discover that we would have preserved so much of our tomatoes. Okay. But unfortunately, government has done what it's supposed to do, but the managers of some of these research institutes.
Okay. Talking of preservation, agriculture is a value chain, and we produce so much, and there's so much efforts being put in place by the various governments to increase our productivity. Now, whether it is the federal, the state, local, or even of recent regional development commissions, at what point should we begin to pay particular attention to processing? So that, you have huge production, and you lose them because there is no preservation and processing. So at what point should we begin to nip it and ensure that what we produce, if it's not totally consumed, we can still preserve, and it goes beyond the production stage?
Yeah, you can only preserve. You know, these things are technology nowadays. Yeah. You need technology to be able to preserve. And the onus lies in the state governments, not in the federal government. The state governments should be able to, promote technologies, promote small-scale industries that will be able to take care of this, because they are actually collecting revenues. If you go around the country, you see the manned checkpoints, and some people are there collecting revenues. Any truck that is passing that is carrying food products, they collect revenue from them. This revenue goes to the states and to the local governments. So, but they are not doing anything in order to, help their people, produce, be able to set up some small-scale industries that will be able to, preserve some of these products or some of these crops that they produce.
All right.
And so it's a serious challenge.
Very quickly.
The state governments and the local governments must be held responsible for this loss.
All right, very quickly, because of our time, they say every challenge, presents an opportunity. Now, we see that we have this flooding challenge in Nigeria every rainy season. Why has it been so difficult, to convert this challenge into an opportunity for us? You see that we have a power challenge as well. We have issue of electricity supply. Why has it been so difficult to channel this challenge into improving the energy sector? I'm talking about the electricity, producing enough electricity for us, to also salvage the situation of the farmers and also other sectors of the economy.
Yeah, I think largely, since after the discovery of oil in Nigeria, we seem to have lost our senses of diversification. Oh. And since then, of course, you can see that Nigeria is concentrating on oil revenue as the only revenue. And what are they using this revenue for? We're only spending it. We're not investing it. And if there was no oil, I'm sure would have been doing the needful. Look at what Ethiopia did recently. The dam that they built. That dam is going to give electricity to over 7 countries. They're going to sell power. And they are going to make money. And that river is not bigger than River Benue. Neither is it bigger than River Niger. Until today, we are where we are. Like I said in the beginning, most of our solutions are reactive. They are not proactive. And that is the problem. If you dredge the River Benue or you dredge the River Niger today, you will find places where you can create waterfalls, where you can generate electricity. And it's not difficult. Instead of allowing this water to waste, Nigeria supplies electricity to Niger Republic. We're making money from it. We give electricity to Benin Republic. We're making money from it. Nothing stops us from extending this electricity to Togo and even Ghana. We can generate electricity for the whole of West Africa. And so these are some of the things that we have to wake up from our slumber and think out of the box. Now that if you see what is happening in the gas sector now, with the Nigeria liquefied natural gas, gas pipelines are being built to Europe since after the Russia, attack on Ukraine. And many European countries have boycotted buying of Russian gas. Now Nigeria is building a gas pipeline to send gas to Europe, which is commendable. And these are some of the things that we must leverage on. And if the Nigerian liquefied natural gas was not privatized to an extent, I'm telling you that wouldn't have happened. So we must look for ways in which we privatize some of these things to make sure, but government must take the lead.
Exactly, Honorable Marian. It's a fine place to live it. Government must take the lead, and I hope that government is listening. Thank you so much for your time with us on the program this morning. It's a delight speaking with you.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Thank you for being a part of our conversation this morning. That's where we'll leave it for the week. We'll now hand you over to our Lagos studio, where Ria Abdul and the rest of the team are standing by to continue with the rest of the show.
And of course, we are here standing by. Thank you so much, Abuja. Thank you.